Happy Tuesday, beautiful souls, wherever you are on this phenomenal planet. It is time for Shift Your Thinking Tuesdays, where we transform our inner experience to a phenomenal outer experience. For 13 minutes of our time, we do it together. We connect, build, and share. I'm going to let this play a little bit. Hey, Jerry. Thanks for tuning in. Shout out to those of you on the Instagram. Good rising, great rising, and grand rising to you all. You feel that? Yes, yes. Okay, all right. You know, it's a party. It's always a party when I jump in. All this fire, all the Sag fire. If you're on Facebook, make sure you tune in, say hi, say hello. Jerry says, hey, Queen. Peace. Thank you. I am having an amazing start to this week. How many of you are starting your week on Sunday? Does your week start on Sunday or does it start on Monday? Because, you know, when we do shows like this that is broadcasting all over the World Wide Web, like I am collaborating with a organization, a company for a project in the Philippines. So like the time zone is different. They're already ahead of time. And it's amazing, that thing called perspective. Okay, so, let me do this. Let me do captions first. I have to do our captions. We're on episode 66. Woohoo! Kudos to us. We are doing an amazing job together in being consistent. And I'm calling this episode The Power of Who and When. The power of who and when. Let's see if you can figure out where I'm going with this. By the way, we are following along from Shift Your Thinking, authored by Dean Del Sesto, 200 Ways to Improve Our Lives. And we are consistently doing this every Tuesday, 8:10 Pacific time, 11:10 Eastern. And it's really about taking in, I'm sharing with you the love of reading, the love of self-development, self-mastery, and there are levels to this when we talk about awareness, actualization, experience, wisdom, transformation, and then self-mastery. And wherever you are on that journey, let's do it together. Hey, Louis Bruce, Las Vegas is in the building. I love that I connect with people from all over when I travel. So I know who it's. So when I tune into you guys and you guys are chiming in, like I could physically know who you are. I could put a face or a voice for those of you who have my number. And you can DM me and just get connected. The power of who and when. So I'm in the section, if you're following along, called Never Underestimate the Power of Who Will Do What and When. Clarity, consistency. What? Jerry says Compton in the house. CPT is in the building. Yes. You know I'm broadcasting from your sister city, Inglewood. You know that's where I'm from. This is where I'm broadcasting from. Inglewood, California. They're cracking up on the Instagram. I love it. So who else is chiming in? Aretha, hey love, fellow realtor partner. Congratulations on your new listing, by the way, in Inglewood. She's got a listing in Inglewood. Check her out. Connect through me. I'll connect through her, and vice versa. Win, win, win. See, I love you guys. I love you guys. I love this. All right, so let's focus. Here we go. The power of who and when. He says, the author says, when you're vague, you're the plague. I tell you, this author is like a rapping writer. And this is why reading and writing is important, especially if you listen to hip hop, you listen to music, you're talking about the art of lyrics, the power of words. And it's just so interesting how powerful words are. Spelling is important because you're casting a spell. Be mindful of that. He says, when you're vague, you're the plague. In other words, people get irritable. They don't stay away from you because you're not being consistently specific. Detail, please. What do you mean? When? He says, your lack of clarity spreads like the dis-ease that it is. It suffices to say that when an icon, he says, like Jack Welch, formerly of General Electric, writes that one of the biggest breakdowns in business is lack of candor, what he's referring to is a gross shortage of honest, clear, and specific communication during typical day-to-day business interactions. We do this every single day. We are connecting with human beings, one another. And I have learned, because my mind moves quickly, I speak and think quickly. And I have, through my connections with my business partner and other people in my life, I now realize I have to prime the person when I'm going to switch topics, because my mind goes, boom, I'm on to the next. Boom, on to the next. And then when people are looking at me and like, wait, are you still talking about? No, I'm past that like 3 topics ago. And literally, this can all happen in a matter of 120 seconds for me, because that's how my brain is operating. It's very interesting, y'all. And for those of you who connect with me intimately and personally and professionally, allow me to make those adjustments and making sure I'm priming and saying new topic, right? So he says, call it what you like. 90% of all organizations suffer from lack of straightforward communication, and one form is called the daily mystery of who will do what by when. You ever been in that situation where instructionals are going out and people are saying, especially task-oriented, and when you're in a group setting and it has been outlined that something needs to get done. However, no one is clearly saying who is going to do it or who should do it and when they should do it by. When does it need to get done? We covered this actually now a couple episodes ago. I think this was episode 3 when we talked about the inefficient use of the words ASAP. Do it ASAP. ASAP is very vague, very general. As soon as possible. What does that mean? What does that mean? And then people want to put it on you like you're supposed to drop what you're doing and do that. When do you need it by? I need it by close of business today, 5 o'clock. I need it by Friday, 3 o'clock. Be detailed. People will highly regard you and respect you for being specific and clear, because that means you know what you want. When you know what you want, we are closer to you knowing who you are. I like this. This is going to be a fun one today. It was a little heavy last week. This is going to be good. He says, for whatever reason, leaving out the critical details during task-based communication has become standard operating procedure because for the moment, it always seemed easier to be casual rather than detailed, hoping others will fill in the gaps. Why are you expecting people to be psychic? I mean, we are intuitively, depending on who's tapping in. But people are not mind readers unless you're activating that part of you. But be specific of what you want and who you want it from or of. 24K Levi's in the building. Thanks for joining. Happy Tuesday. Peace. So he's saying people are, yes, I've noticed this. Aren't we? We are becoming casual in our conversation and in our instructions, assuming that we can just do detailed oriented tasks in a so happenstance way. Let me also say this. So timeout. You see, I've learned this. I'm going to switch a topic. So I'm saying to you, timeout. I'm going to time out on this because I need to share that I am expecting a delivery from Amazon. So they didn't deliver it last night. And I don't know how many of you are getting this. So there's this new Amazon logistics. They're subcontracting out delivery services. And this isn't the first time that the delivery person said that we were closed. We've been open till like 9, 10 o'clock at night. And so we were here and I got an email saying, hey, Lisa, sorry, we missed you. And so the driver indicated that we were closed and that he called. So none of that happened. It was 7:15. And I'm like, yo, and by the way, I'm giddy because, and excited about my package because I'm getting a new webcam. So that's, anyway, so I wanted to sidebar because I'm looking at the door just in case, you know, somebody comes to the door and it's my delivery, my package. Okay, so I may have to get up and go get it. So, all right, let us continue. He says, actually, as we're talking about the power of who and when, if you just joined in, we're on episode 66 of Shift Your Thinking Tuesdays. And today's episode is called The Power of Who and When. He says, actually, that's the moment confusion begins and potential stops when we are being too casual in our conversations, when we are lacking clarity, when we are lacking being detailed. You hear that? He says, I know it seems basic, who and what by when, but business depends on momentum. And the one thing companies and individuals can't afford to lose, I'll say that again, and the one thing companies and individuals can't afford to lose in today's business environment is momentum. And that is very true. I know my business partner, Hugh Williams, tends to point out that I get into a beast mode when I'm in that momentum because I need to know who, what, and when. Being in real estate and as a real estate professional, running a business, timelines is important. It's how I protect my clients' money and it's how we close deals. So who and when is very important in my business. Is this resonating with you? I mean, albeit you're self-employed or employed, it is absolutely paramount that timelines are met. Shout out to Landscape Larry. Hello. I know you know all about this, Larry, is timelines, as we're talking about the importance of who and when and properly communicating, because I think you have a trucking business or in trucking. And I can imagine that the logistics of getting somewhere, getting the delivery on time is important. It's how you get paid. I mean, most of us are getting paid based on performance. That's what we're talking about. Hello, performance. Who and when. The power of who and when. So he says the constant starts and stops that come from not knowing the details of who, what, and when takes all the fun out of business, as well as the potential. Exactly. It's important to know who's going to do what and when. Why? What are some other reasons? Time, money, efficiency. It alleviates the responsibility of other people to be more efficient to do something else while we're clear that one individual or organization is working on this, especially when we talk about projects and outsourcing. He says the interesting part is that specificity in communication is not so much about what you have to do, it's about who you are. Holy smokes, I just said this. This is amazing. This is me channeling. This is so funny because I said this. The more clear you are, did you hear that? The more clear, the more clear you are, the closer you get to who you are. Shout out to Auntie Martha. She says, good morning, beautiful. Thank you, love. That's my family. My family comes on and supports. I know she's en route at work. Possibly, maybe. You should be. I just said this. It's the art of communication. When we are properly communicating, it's clear we know who we are. And again, I'll reiterate this. People highly regard you and respect you more for it because your words are on a sound foundation. Hey, Raider. Thanks for joining. Shout out to my Instagram fam. Getting all these loves and hearts. Love it. I like this. Are we driving with this? Are we vibing with this? The power of who and when. He said it's not what. It's not important of the what's in the details, but it's who's going to do it and when are they going to do it, because we're talking about performance. Yeah. He says it's living in a discipline of being a clear person. That's a trigger word for some of us. Discipline. How disciplined are we, right? The more I commit to Shift Your Thinking Tuesdays, meaning we're on episode 66. I've done this for 66 consecutive weeks, albeit I'm traveling in an airport. I commit to it. I've had to make the adjustments for time zones, right? Because I'm traveling into various places. I've had to make the adjustments, but I've been consistent in saying I'm going to commit to doing this every Tuesday. By doing that, what do you think has happened to me? As a matter of fact, Hugh brought this up the other day because it came up on his Facebook memory for, 2 years ago, a year ago. And it was a topic of discussion. He said there have been so much growth in you just by doing it for yourself, right? This is personal development, and you guys are tuning in and joining with me. And we can tangibly measure the change. I can see it physically. I can physically see change. And I can also see that my articulation has become clear, has become more firm, powerful. I'm listening to my tonalities, the inflections of my voice. Because guess what? After the show records, I go back and listen to the replay. Just like any of the best players and professionals, they go back and study themselves. What are you doing to study yourself? Be mindful of what you're posting, because that is your digital footprint. Have you grown since your last post? Because we're talking about discipline of you as a clear human being. Remember, what you are posting and sharing is an expression of self. He says you develop your character, here we go, and your way of being with people while measuring the results you attain. Specifically, I just said this. This is so funny. He says, and if your results are less than adequate, and listen, if your results are less than adequate, that is you measuring that. You get to determine what adequate is. He says you'll be willing to look at your role and take account for those results as a responsible human, not as a victim. I just said this. In other words, you are accountable to self. This is the attitude of professionals, the ones who are clear about who is going to do what by when. We kept it short, sweet, and simple today. Short, sweet, and powerful. So that's our time as we get ready to wrap this up. You know, I always got to give a loving CTA because it's no good for us to do this every week and we're not actually applying it. I'm trusting that in the self-accountability that as every week that we build together, that you are applying this. Hey, the key investor, thanks for joining. Be sure to check out the replay and the archives. We are available on Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, Anchor, Breaker, Stitcher. I mean, a plethora of radio platforms everywhere. And do know that Shift Your Thinking is a bonus series on the Ready, Set, Real Estate show. So this week, I leave this with you. Let's be clear when we are given tasks, when we are the recipient of a task, that we're clear of the who and the when, so that we can know when we should be performing if it's placed upon ourselves, right? If someone assigns you a task. And if you're giving instructions, be clear of who and when. All right, you guys, that's my time. Connect, build, and share at LASuperAgent on all social media. Love you.